This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. And welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Here we are. Welcome to my home, Øystein.
Thank you so much.
You're the first guest I've had here. And, actually, we were going to be in the studio, but now we're in my living room because of the corona. We're sitting here with masks on, everybody. We're not breaking the rules. We're social distancing. We're masked up, and we are in a more open area of the house to kind of follow the rules. It's a little tight in the studio there, so.
Yeah, but this is more cozy.
This is more cozy, and also I'm not afraid because my wife is quite strict with her. She said, make sure he wears a mask. Make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you social distance.
Because it's me or because it's...
Because it's her. She doesn't like people. So,
yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah.
No, she's just very careful.
Yeah.
And she cares about me. She doesn't want me getting sick.
That's nice.
And the kids and all that stuff. Man, I hope one day we can get back to normal. I just hope people do the right thing now,
But will we ever then?
I think we'll get back to a new normal. I think this Corona time has been an eye opener.
Yeah, it has.
Can you send me that coffee there, would you? And the water. I think we have a new. I think we're going to come around to a new normal. I'm just glad that people aren't as ridiculous about things here as they are back home in the States.
Yeah. Well, I feel that I think we'll have some kind of, Asian tourists. Yeah. They've been doing this for years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You get a new respect for disease in a way.
Absolutely. Well, I kind of got a taste of it. I lived on Okinawa for, 2.5 years.
Okay.
When I was in the United States Marines, I was stationed on Okinawa. It should have only been 1 year, but I got an extension.
Okay.
Because I was enjoying myself so much. What a beautiful culture.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, that respect for your fellow man. And little, they get a cold, they just get the sniffles a little bit, they put a mask on. And that's been normal for them for generations.
Yeah. I think we will get there, actually.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. So we were talking for a few minutes before we went on the air here. But I was saying some things about how I choose my guests. I choose people who are interesting to me and who are motivating to me. I kind of have a selfish motivation with my podcast. I'm looking to be inspired. I'm looking to be motivated. And then my hope is that my listeners will also be inspired and motivated in some way. So that's why I have you here. There's a few things about your life that are inspiring to me. Tell us what you do. What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm at my core, my base is I'm a physiotherapist, and a personal trainer. I would define.
Which one came first, physical therapist or personal trainer?
Physical therapist came first. So I finished my education in 2005. I came home. I studied in Hungary. In Budapest. So
why Hungary?
Well, I couldn't get admitted at Norwegian school, so I was like looking around, and I found Hungary. Looked interesting. Felt a bit different.
I can imagine. Was the class in English then?
Yeah,
maybe?
It was in English. Yeah, but we learned a bit Hungarian in order to communicate with our patients.
Yeah.
So I know some. I know a lot more swearing than I know proper language. But I got around. When I came home, I started working at a hospital. But my kind of hyperactive personality wasn't satisfied by working like 8:30 until 4.
Okay.
And then I met up with a guy who also went to the same university as me in Budapest. And we worked at this place called Artesia in Oslo at Majorstua, which is a great place. But it's more like a country clubbish thing, like you have in the U.S. Yeah. Like you can have dinner, you have a glass of wine, you can work out. It's a spa.
So you have some high-end clients, people with money to spend.
Yeah, it is. It's a different clientele, but they're still people, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but in 2005, 06, selling personal training was different. It was not common. It was regarded for Like
that's interesting to think back on that time. A lot of people had no idea about the concept of a personal trainer. People were very skeptical of the whole thing.
Yeah.
How did you meet that challenge then? You almost had to prove to people that you were legitimate in order to get them as a client.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always used a combination of physical therapy and training. So the typical thing is that you have a client that has some kind of issue, and then you work out. You have some focus on whatever issue they have,
like an injury or a weakness.
And then you also work on like proper fitness, and then you take them to the treatment room, right?
Right.
And you do some passive movements, which is something I really love because you need the active and the passive to make a great whole, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that I was kind of a curiosity there. I'm from the east of Oslo. Okay. I'm not from the west.
You're not from the west side.
No, not at all.
For those who are back home in the States, tell them the difference or the reputation of the east side versus the west side of Oslo.
Well, you have a river in Oslo, Akerselva, it's called, and east side of that you have the working class, and on the west side you have the more upper class. Well, actually, when I grew up, there was a working class in Norway, a middle class, and an upper class.
Right.
I regarded that we almost don't have a working class anymore. We're all middle class or upper class.
It's pretty much even, yeah.
Or poor.
Or poor, one or the other.
So the working class is kind of just vanished with automation, everything. And we're super rich, right?
It seems like when I go to Oslo, I see a difference in the people. You know, I live here in Drammen, and I don't want to say anything bad about it. Look at us trying to drink our coffee. I almost forgot to take my mask down to take a drink of coffee a second ago. So
just make this whole, right?
Just make a hole, yeah. No, but when I go into Oslo, I was talking with my wife about this the last time we were there. We see a difference in the people.
It is.
There's a lot more people. You know, the men are wearing the suit and tie and carrying a briefcase. The younger people are more fancy dressed. I mean, you see this more of a professional lifestyle. But at the same time, I think people in Oslo seem more relaxed than people here in Drammen, which is a weird combination because, you know, it's almost like a Wall Street atmosphere without the stress.
Yeah.
And that's pretty interesting to me.
We're so safe. I mean,
is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
People are in general in Norway, but I think maybe in Oslo especially, you're so secure in your jobs. You have a great income. I don't know. America, greatest country in the world. That's what Americans will say. But I think we could learn some things from Norway.
I think also...
people are just so chilled out here.
You know, history, it's interesting, right? Because we don't know what's coming in the future. But we do know what's been. And what has been in the latest, since 50s, it's been a tremendous rise in the pricing of real estate, right?
Yes.
So everyone who came into the market before 2010 is making hell of a lot of money, right? So every time you sell your apartment, your house, you up your kind of, what's it called? What is left, or difference between
your money in the bank, your profit from sales and whatnot,
and it's not taxed, right?
Right.
So it's straight into your wallet here in Norway, and but this is changing now because real estate prices are crazy. So the young people won't be able from now, I think, to buy a house. It will not be as common, right? You have to have wealthy parents or get an incredible job straight out of uni to be able to purchase your first apartment.
I was looking at these numbers because Snoopy and I, my wife and we're slumlords. we would be landlords, but in these times of Corona and financial strife, we are slumlords. So we have an apartment across town here as our investment. So we try to keep up with the real estate prices. So we were just looking at this a couple days ago, and it's very interesting. You can buy a home in the United States, in general, for up to 45% less than what you pay here in Norway.
Yeah.
But if you rent a place in the United States, you pay up to 30% more than you do here in Norway. That's just an interesting contrast right there. It's very expensive if you're renting something in the States, but if you're going to invest and buy, you can do it for almost half the money that you need to do here in Norway. That's very interesting to me, who still has my American citizenship. I hope to retire back at home someday. So that's something that I keep in mind, and we're just looking at the differences there. But then again, moving back home, as attractive as that is, sometimes I feel like I would be moving to a lot of problems. Yeah. Again, people here seem so much more chilled out and relaxed. And we just look at how people are reacting to the coronavirus here, as opposed to how they're reacting back home. It's a world of difference.
And remember, when you see America's debt.
Oh God, yeah.
And when you know Norway's, what's it called? What we have on our savings account.
Yeah,
it's 10 trillion.
Yeah. But let's talk about that for a second, because that's as a nation. Yeah. On an individual basis or on a family basis, Norwegian families are in debt up to their noses. Yeah, they have, what did they say? You guys have like, I was just looking at this the other day. Don't quote me on this, but I want to say that 40% of a Norwegian's income goes towards housing.
Yeah, it does.
That's a huge investment. And a little bit scary, because if the housing market goes bad here in Norway, there's going to be a lot of people that are in trouble.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. But our social democracy here in Norway is really. It's a fundament, right? It will never disappear, even if we get the government we have now with more the right side or from the center, right? We will always have this hardcore social democracy, and what we know is that if you fail, they will catch you and take care of you.
Yeah, and that's a reassuring thing, and that's probably what brings around this financial confidence that Norwegians have.
Yeah, I think
that they're not afraid to invest so much of their income into their home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't going to be a financial podcast, but it's an interesting social aspect.
Yeah, it is.
And it's interesting for me as an American living in Norway to look at the difference and see how things are at home.
But to take it from like a motivational, inspirational view, it's like I find it really, really interesting that when all of us want these secure jobs, did you know that 49% of Norwegians are working for the government?
Oh, really?
49%. Yeah, they're at home now. They're getting the same pay.
There you go.
They have more time with the kids. The rent is down. They're good, right? But like me in the fitness industry, I have to continuously strive to keep my income good, or
you have to stay innovative, constantly changing your business plan, I would imagine.
It is. Now finally we got a digital deal. We want our customers. So
what do you mean, like so online training?
Yeah, we're giving them hints and tips on how to set up their home office to stay healthy. We're giving them hints and tips on how they should do their training and stuff to keep healthy. We're all sitting, right? Yeah. So it's the only position we as a race is not supposed to be. So we should be standing or lying, walking or running. Sitting is...
When you think about how much people sit, can you talk about what sitting over 6, 8, 10 hours a day at your job, what does that do to the body? I don't think a lot of people are aware of this.
No. So what happens is that, number one, I'll take it from like a physiological perspective, your circulation goes to shit, right?
Circulation?
Yeah, because the circulation goes like this. You get blood out from your heart, and that's supposed to be distributed throughout the body. Especially when it goes down to the legs, it needs help from your venous pump and your muscles to be pumped back. And it kind of is pumped back, but then you get to the flexion of your hips, which is there through sitting.
Those hip flexors, oh my gosh, is if I have a weak spot as a powerlifter, it's my hip flexors, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see that on so many. So that's the circulatory issue, right? So your venous return is restricted by your hip flexion. Number two is
Hold on. Hip flexion actually affects your circulation.
Absolutely.
How so? How so? That's very interesting.
Because you have an obstruction when you have a bend in your hip.
Right.
Because a huge veins going through there.
So you're literally constricting the flow of blood because of that bend. That you're sitting, 8-10 hours a day. That bend in your hips is literally cutting off the blood flow from your through your veins.
Yeah, and as
interesting.
Sir Isaac Newton said, right? Everything you hold up in air will fall down.
That's right.
And that also goes for your circulation. So your lymph system and your blood system is affected by this. Just look what happens with your legs when you're on an airplane.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the same thing, but then you also get the pressure issue, which enhances the whole experiment. But that happens as well. We're under atmospheric pressure here, and when you restrict the circulation as well, you will get edema, swollen feet.
So many powerlifters who have gotten blood clots from long flights.
Yeah, that's typical.
You're a big guy or girl, a little bit heavier than you should be, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting for hours on a plane.
Yeah.
So the difference in pressure plus being still for so long.
Yeah, and
it's not a good recipe.
You know how it is, right? We need a surplus of calories to build muscle. And if you're a super heavyweight, there's no reason to stop your gains, right?
Right.
So you will always live in this surplus. And cholesterol itself is an anabolic substance, so it will help you. But it's also clotting, right?
Yeah.
So this give and take thing, and that's why you experience this in flights.
But don't super heavyweights, or do you think that super heavyweights get a little out of control with the body weight thing?
Yeah, they do.
I look at what I've done. Let me just compare myself with an average super heavyweight. Let's say an average super heavyweight in the United States, because I think super heavyweights. Actually, now in Norway, there's not a lot of big super heavyweights.
Oh.
Seems like most of, Martin Rønning, he was up in like 170 kilos.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And of course, Carl Ingvar, he was like 165, 70.
Yeah, but they're kind of different, like
but
body
now,
type-wise.
now if you're a super heavyweight in Norway, you're barely over 120.
Yeah.
But if I compare myself like on an international stage or back in the States, the super heavyweights there tend to be, 150 kilos and up.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that's necessary. I think you can have a leaner physique. I think you can weigh 140 kilos and be pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And be stronger because you have more quality muscle than some of these guys who are 150, 160 kilos and less muscular.
Yeah.
What do you think? What
I think about that is, this is my hypothesis on that.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, if you're super heavy, you're plain old fat. You have muscle, but you're really overweight. Your general physical preparedness goes dramatically down.
Your athleticism, you may be strong, you may be an effective powerlifter, but your athleticism and general health is way, way, way down.
And what does that do with your training? Well, to do higher volume becomes a problem for you.
Yeah.
And with lower volume, because of a decreased general physical preparedness, your training won't be as optimal as the guy who has a better general physical preparedness. So this is what I think. That will, the possibility of doing higher volume will trump the gut.
Did you say Trump? Don't say that. Come on now.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Will trump the hitting on the belly to your quads.
Yeah.
In a way.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's an argument that I've had with some people. I've been criticized up through the years about the way I train. Yeah. As a super heavyweight, I train more like, I do things like sprints. Yeah. I'll sprint, whether it's running sprints or sprints on an elliptical machine or on a bicycle. I have a cardio capacity, a lung volume that's off the charts for my size. Yeah. I'm leaner. I have more of a bodybuilder look. I train more like a bodybuilder. My powerlifting workouts last maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, that's good. And people's jaws hit the floor. And I'm like, well, if you have the capacity, you can change the intensity of your workouts, meaning you don't have to do a set of 3 on squats and then wait 10 minutes before you take the next set.
That's right.
You can do a set of 6 or 8. And you wait, 60 to 90 seconds and you get on and you do it again. Yeah. And this is with heavy weight. That's the way, that's been my training philosophy. And I think that has been the key to my powerlifting success.
I agree.
It's a non-powerlifting way of training.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be a non-powerlifting way of training. I think it should be, of course, to each his own or her own. Yeah. But I think that concept of the powerlifter having to take an eternity to finish a training session is a little bit archaic. It should be rethought.
Yeah, it's more of a cultural thing than anything else.
Do you think so? Do you think it's a cultural stubbornness?
Yeah, absolutely. We have so much, well, I don't know if it's ignorance or cultural, but we have
Can we call it ignorance? Because isn't ignorance the unwillingness to accept new ideas?
Yeah.
Yeah, self-imposed ignorance.
Absolutely. So
we can say that.
We have a lot of research now, right? We know what happens if you do that and this and whatever. So it's no evidence on keeping your workout hours and hours long compared to doing it shorter. What happens is the body kind of powerlifting is anaerobic, right?
Yes.
Yes. So if you work within the anaerobic scheme of things, you will get better. So sprinting, great. Yep. Jumping, yep. Great. Explosions, yep. Right? And
I've never been much for jumping though. Not recently anyway. My joints don't tolerate that.
I know.
But sprinting, that's a solid piece of my training routine. I'll do my squats. I'll squat 300 plus kilos in a training session. For reps, and then run some sprints afterwards.
Yeah.
People tell me I'm losing something.
No.
But I say the opposite. I'm gaining something. That aerobic capacity is nothing but a bonus for my training.
But that's nonsense. Like
it is.
You're losing something. Anaerobic is anabolic. Aerobic is catabolic.
Exactly.
So as long as you keep it anaerobic, you're building.
There you go.
If you're eating the amount you need, you are building. The aerobic scheme of things is catabolic.
Yeah.
So the issue, if you keep things, if you're running like huge amounts and try to pack on muscle, well, that can become an issue.
Well, if you have the right amount of, when I sprint, a sprinting session for me is over in 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
It's basically a hit type of thing. I'll literally sprint at 100% for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Rest for 20 to 30 seconds and sprint again, so that it's over within 10 to 12 minutes. Now, I think if I were to stretch that out to 15, 20, 25 minutes of sprinting, then I'm going to lose some strength. Then I'm going to have a challenge of keeping that caloric plus to gain muscle. But as long as you temper it a little bit, as long as you're smart about it and keep it, like I say, sprinting for 10 minutes, you're not going to lose any muscle. Quite the opposite. You're going to gain because you're going to have the capacity to train with more intensity.
Absolutely.
With your strength training.
But it's still anaerobic because the exercise itself, when you're like doing your set of sprints, is anaerobic.
Yeah.
Then you have a rest. It's anaerobic, then you have a rest. But if you keep it aerobic over time, it's not a good idea if you want to pack on muscle. So you have to do this cleverly. If you're just starting off training, well, you have beginning gains.
Right.
Whatever. It'll be good.
So what's a good routine then if you want to incorporate sprinting while you're still trying to gain strength and mass?
Well, sprinting will always be okay. I like sprinting at the end of a workout.
Yes. Oh, yeah, always at the end.
Yeah, because it really messes up your technique and like everything and your focus.
So when I see people going crazy on an elliptical for 20 minutes before they lift with their weights, I just wish they would flip it.
Yeah, of course.
I wish they would.
You should. Well, what I feel, you should make your technique work your warm up. You do your working sets, then you do your sprints, or maybe explosive work before your sprints.
Right.
If you need that. Yeah. That's what I feel.
Listen, people, because it's so frustrating to see people doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah, I did.
But those are the people who are a little bit stubborn. It's that willful ignorance. They know there's more research and more information out there, but they're kind of stuck they're stuck in the 90s or the 80s, some of them, and they don't have this new, more efficient way of approaching their training routine.
It's so interesting. Like you have this functional focus now, right? A lot of people are powerlifting, like recreational powerlifting. CrossFit is huge, and I think powerlifting owes CrossFit a big amount of
absolutely
gratitude.
Absolutely.
But what they won't realize is every time they come in, they go up to the like 90% range, and they start grinding in the hope that grind will make their strength go up, right? If they would spend 10 minutes more on technique work, that can put on like 50 pounds in a squat instantly.
Yes.
While gaining strength, that takes, I don't know, hell of a lot of time.
It does. One advantage that I think has worked well for me is my approach to warm-up sets and reps. Yeah. I treat them as if they are actual work sets when it comes to focus on technique.
It's so interesting. I've been thinking about just this topic lately.
When I'm warming up for squat, which is my favorite exercise of the 3 powerlifts, and I begin with just the bar. It's the same, I can see it going like a film in my head, left hand on the bar, right hand on the bar, head under the bar, set it on the shoulders, 1 step left foot, 1 step right foot, breathe and squat. Yeah. And I do that same thing every single set, every single rep, even on the warm-ups.
How big of a jump do you do during a warm-up?
The bar, and then after that, I just start adding the reds. Yeah. The 25 kilo plates.
Yeah, okay. So how many sets will that? Let's say you're going like 300. That's quite a bit of warm-up.
Then, yeah, it's quite a bit of warm-ups. Then it will be, I'll do maybe 2 sets with just the bar for 8 to 10 reps. Then I'll start stacking on the reds, and then for each set, it'll be gradually fewer reps.
Yeah. And more explosive.
And yeah. And so the heavier I'm going to lift for that training session, the more warm-up sets I have, which is only beneficial.
Yeah, that's the thing, because if you do one warm-up with the bar, then let's say you're going up to 80%, then your next warm-up is 40, then you have 60, and then you go. The thing is that if you add up the volume of more warm-up sets, it gets huge. And
that's right, yeah.
That's the thing, and I've been thinking about this. I think too many just go straight to their working sets or too fast, and then they lose all this volume.
But it's all relative. I think it depends on the lifter's level of experience and expertise, and it depends on the workload as well. I can give you an example. For a couple different reasons, it's been a few weeks. It's been quite a few weeks since I last trained. But I know that when I go out in the garage and I'm going to squat again, that day's work sets will be at, and this is on an SSB bar. I can't squat on a regular bar. I got some shoulder issues. But I know that my work sets on that first day back will probably be at 170 kilos with the SSB bar. That's heavy.
That's heavy.
But that'll be where I start. That's my base level to get started on a training cycle that will probably last about 14 weeks before I do a deload and go back and restructure things.
So
so it's all relative, but within that relativity comes the importance of that warm-up procedure, which a lot of people don't focus on. I think I may have more focus on my warm-ups than I do on my work sets. When I get to my work sets, I'm locked in, and it kind of goes on its own. Yeah. There's very little thought. It's just an automatic process at that time. But I put a lot of thought and a lot of focus in my warm-ups, which I think has benefited me greatly, especially in my squat.
Do you do a linear progression, a block, or a conjugate? Where are you?
I do a linear progression. And this goes back to, I'm very fortunate to be able to say that at one point I was training with Ed Cohen.
Oh, wow.
His wife actually is the reason I'm in Norway. You know Hege?
Yeah, well, I met them, yeah.
Hello, Hege. She and my wife have been friends since my wife was a kid, like 12, 13 years old. So when Hege moved to Chicago and I met Hege and we just hit it off, she and I became best friends right away. And Hege started telling me, hey, you've got to meet my friend. I was like, nah, I'm not interested. But I did meet her friend and ended up marrying her. Yeah. So it's Hege's the reason why. And when Hege comes, she should be coming here in a few weeks. She usually spends about half the year here in Norway. Yeah. And she and I were like,
how cool is that?
If you look on my social media, when I tag Tiny Little Coach on my power lifts from training, that's Hege.
I just met them at the Strongman event.
Yeah, Ed put on.
Yeah, I was just like, hello, and I was like really starstruck because Ed Cohen's lifting is something else, isn't it? His methodical way of looking. Well,
that's where I learned it. Yeah. That's where I learned it from. That concept of treating your warm-ups almost with more focus than you do your actual work sets. Yeah. I got that from Ed. How to squat. The first time I squatted 600 pounds was training with Ed. I'll never forget that day. I was like, oh my gosh, it's possible. Now 600 pounds is not, what is that, 272 kilos? Now that's nothing. Yeah. But at that time, that was a huge goal for me. And I got that because of his guidance. Yeah. So to be able to train with him and his crew back in the day when I was living in Chicago, that's crazy. That was a foundation of my powerlifting. Although I didn't start powerlifting until 2015 here in Norway. Before that, I was a bodybuilder. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Just to watch Ed Cohen, how he lifted. It was like either he locked it out with perfect technique or it wouldn't come off.
Yeah.
In a way.
Exactly.
But he almost never missed though.
That's one thing I was just going to say, that his training was so methodical and so well thought out. There's no such thing as him missing a lift in training.
No.
I never saw it happen. I mean, he tells in some interviews about how it happened from time to time in his early days. But in all those years I was there, from like 95 till 2002, I never saw him miss a lift in training. Everything was so, and I never miss a lift in training. No. It's very meticulous, very well thought out. I don't do heavy max out singles. No. My max out at the end of a training block is 3 reps. What can I do for a triple? That's what I want to know. And based on that triple in training, I can then estimate what my opening lift should be, my second lift, and my max. Triples.
And the risk-reward ratio of going like a 1 repetition max.
It breaks my heart to see some of these young cats out there doing single after single. I don't understand that. That's ego. I do understand it. It's ego.
Yeah, it totally is.
But if you would take that enthusiasm and put it into a thought out process, you'll get so much more out of it.
And their mental state is, you're young, right? So you don't know better, but you're killing your nervous system. While trying to go 1 repetition max, a true 1 repetition max, that will put you out for actually weeks.
Well, and you talk about being young and not knowing better. I was fortunate. I was young and I knew better because I had excellent guidance almost from day one. I was like 12 years old, and my football coaches, football, not soccer for you Europeans, football. My football coaches knew what they were doing when it came to lifting weights. So I've had good guidance and trained smart and effective the whole way, which is a benefit because I think these young guys are starting with some bad habits. Yeah. They're probably in the beginning stages of an injury, but they don't realize it yet, and it's going to come and hurt them later in their lifting career.
It will, absolutely. I found out too late that, I'm long, right? I'm kind of high. I'm 192, and I was doing this. In Norway, there are different cultures as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you look at an American squat, like a West Side thing, right? That's crazy hamstrings and glutes.
Yeah.
But us Norwegians, we tend to do it more like an Olympic squat.
More high bar,
and knees
more
forward.
Upright and knees forward.
That's been my problem. So I have this long femur.
Yeah, you got those long femurs. Yeah,
and my knees been going forward a lot during squats. So they're kind of shot now. My knees are more, the total joint is just, it's not inflamed, it's just worn out in a way.
Well, it definitely helps to have those good proportions in your joints. I'm I'm built for squatting.
Yeah, you are.
It's funny. I posted a picture, an old picture when I hit the squat record last year. Excuse me. And I look at the picture of me standing next. I barely come up to anybody's shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm this short, stocky guy that's just built for squat. And then I see people like you who are quite tall. I'm trying to think of a tall person who is a good squatter. I don't really know of any.
No.
Even Carl Ingvar Christensen, he's not that tall.
No, he isn't. He? No, he isn't.
He's taller than me. He's probably close to 180, if not 180. But
yeah.
People who are over 1.8 meters, I don't know. I don't see too many of them being effective squatters.
No. So now I'm actually doing kind of a good morning squat.
Okay. Yeah.
Focus on my back being nice and straight, my abs being tight, and then when I get to in the hole, I want to push my lumbar spine backwards. In a way, right. That's my focus. So I listen to this quite interesting podcast or video podcast with Stan Efferding.
Stan Efferding.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he had this thing about what's his name? Like a huge training guru, strength coaching.
Not Louis Simmons.
No, not Louis, but
Mark Bell.
The other guy, like the same age as Louis in a way. Sorry.
Yeah. Who?
Oh, I can't remember. Oh, well, anywho, he read his book and was like, and he wanted more a slump over squat than the wide West Side style. But then he felt that you should do it more in a good morning style in order to really flex your ab and have it. Then you need this tighter core. But if you let your sternum go a bit down, it's easier to flex. If you hang out in this huge lumbar sway, yeah, you can breathe into your belly and everything, but it gets more difficult. So it's a give and take thing.
Sure.
And for me, that works perfectly because my hamstrings and glutes are really firing when I get into that kind of a good morning squat. So that's what I'm doing. I can't do the weights I did before, but they do the work because you can put higher amounts of weight on your shoulders, which is a good thing.
What are your thoughts about longevity? I'm 51 years old. Now I'm in a little bit of a break right now, self-imposed, not training very much. But when I come back, in spite of my shoulder trouble, I'm going to squat more than I did. I'm going to raise that record, that Norwegian record for raw squat. I'm going to squat even more. And I'm going to do it at an age of 52, maybe 53. I know why that's possible, but you as a personal trainer, you as somewhat of a fitness guru, how can that be possible?
Yeah. Well,
drug-free, let's add that. Because I know a lot of people, steroids.
Yeah.
But, training, for those who are listening, I lived in the USAPL. I was on the U.S. national team, and I also lived in Norway. And both federations are IPF, International Powerlifting Federation, where there is a drug testing both in meet and out of meet. There's a routine for that. So we're talking drug-free training here for those who are listening. Yeah. So how is that possible? 50, let's say 50 years old when I set that record. How is that possible? Because the thought out there is that the older you get, the weaker you get.
Yeah. Well, number one, I'll say smarter training. You know what will hurt you.
Say that again. Smarter training.
Smarter training.
Yes.
So you know what will hurt you. You know what works. And you also know when to back down because your ego is in check, right?
Yep.
You don't care if you like lift 100 kilos less because you need it.
I am so far away from trying to show off during my training. It's all business. There's no ego involved in my training at all.
And that comes with age.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that's number one. Number two is that you know how to affect your hormone system. You sleep more, you eat better,
yes,
and all of those things. So the age decrease of the hormone level, it's much less than your surplus of lifestyle.
That's an interesting concept that, I'm aware of that, but most people aren't.
No.
They think automatically because you're older, because you have less hormone production, we're thinking testosterone here, more cortisone that's being dumped into your system because you're older. That's it. Everything's downhill. Mm-hmm. But what you're saying is that can be, there's an antidote to that, which is things like more sleep.
Yeah, that's number one.
Probably, I was going to say that's probably number one.
Yeah.
But what else can one do to keep hormone levels up as one ages? What else can you do?
Well, we know that eating.
Diet.
Yeah,
there you go.
Probably is a good number two.
Yep.
I still think that sleeping is number one, but a good number two is eating. And you have this concept also, like a powerlifter should like just chug down ice cream and whatnot, a lot of fat to lift the most amount of weights. But now we know what good amino acids do, what greens provide, and so on. So you need that calorie surplus, but you want it through
keep it clean.
Proper food, yes. Right? So I'm not saying like when we talk about healthy eating, a lot of us, well, the public now think that, okay, cut down on the carbs, eat more protein. You need good carbs.
Yes, you do.
Because if you don't eat carbs, you won't have any insulin reaction, which will bring those carbohydrates into your muscle, right? So that's a big misconception. Just you have to take out the fries and use more of a glycemic positive carbohydrate. Yeah. That's the thing. But it's not easy though. It sounds easy, but it's
not easy. It is a challenge. There are things that tempt us. You talk about ice cream and stuff, and I start drooling right away.
Yeah, that's the best of. I agree.
But it's doable, and it's doable if you have discipline. Yeah. And the discipline comes if your goal is bright enough for you. Yeah. If it's something you really want to do, then you're going to do the work.
Yeah.
I would imagine, or let me ask you this: what kind of challenges do you have as a personal trainer when it comes to client motivation? I've dabbled in personal training in the sense that I've written programming for powerlifters and I follow them up online. And one of the most frustrating things for me was when this person comes to me quite humbly and asking for help, and I give them the help, or I lay the help out there in front of them, and then they immediately start finding every excuse as to why they cannot follow the program.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Well, I've done like 20,000 plus sessions of personal training, and at start I was like you, frustrated. Then I started to keep them accountable.
How do you do that?
Well, I want them to reach out to me, let's say every week, some sort of written form on how their weekend was and how their training was when they did it alone.
It's almost like they're blogging to you.
Yeah,
about
they are.
Their progress.
They are. And then what I see is that with time, they're kind of, their emotions start coming, right? Uh-huh. What's happening in their lives. And then it can really start working, because a lack of motivation, inspiration almost always have an origin in something else.
I've always thought that there's a psychologist aspect to personal training.
Definitely.
If personal training is being done correctly,
yeah,
then there is this psychological aspect to it. You get a little bit of view, you get a little bit of influence in their private lives outside of training.
Yeah.
Because the two, they hang together.
Yeah.
Your private life and what's going on in your private life will definitely affect your training.
Yeah. What I know about training, and let's say when I have a client, how much will what I know about training affect them in comparison with who I am and how I affect their mind?
I see.
I was in 90-10. Yeah, 90-10. And that says everything. And if you think about your lifting and lifting heavy, how much of it is mental, and how much of it is physical, right? And with your experience, you know that the mental aspect is huge.
I think I summed it up. If I can pat myself on the back, I think I summed it up very well in something I posted on my Facebook page about that record squat lift. There was thousands of hours, or minutes rather, thousands of minutes of mental focus of playing a film in my head of me doing that lift. And it became the reality. You know, I could close my eyes and immediately fall into the reality of that vision of me doing that single repetition.
Yeah.
That became the reality, so that when I got on the platform on competition day, it was the actual lift was actually like a dream.
Yeah.
Because I had created the reality already in my head. That is literally thousands of minutes of preparation, mental preparation.
And that is when you decide to think about it. I think how many times you subconsciously are thinking about a lift because you're locked into a vision.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then that it will be there. Even though you're doing something else, it's still there. Okay, I'm going to like this and like that. I'm a winner. I'm good. Whatever, a positive self-talk, right? If I
can go back to Ed Cohen again, going back to when I was training with him back in Chicago there at Quad's gym. Of course, it was impressive to see him lift, but for me, what was more impressive, what gave me chills to see, was his mental focus, the routine.
He was kind of quiet, wasn't he?
He was extremely quiet.
Yeah,
and you could literally see. It's almost like someone flipped a switch, and he would go into his mental preparation.
Yeah.
And then after the lift, it was like someone flipped a switch again, and he came out of it.
Yeah.
It was incredibly inspiring to watch. That probably is the biggest thing that I took away from my time training with him, was the importance of that mental preparation.
Because focus doesn't need to be aggressive.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
He wasn't a yeller and a screamer. He didn't go up and headbutt the bar and all. No. It was this calm, quiet,
composed,
very composed.
Yeah.
And the explosion of energy and possibly emotion came during the actual lift.
Yeah. He's so interesting, that guy. He's so interesting. And why doesn't more people, like, he's the greatest lifter of all time.
Of all time.
Of all,
yes.
No question.
No question.
Why doesn't more people look to him?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
If you go outside of the IPF, some of these other federations that don't have, let's say, that don't have the rules that the IPF has, he is like a god in those federations. In the IPF, he's like a god, but nobody talks about it because of those doping violations.
Yeah.
But I'll say this to those people in the IPF. Now, Ed Cohen is a friend. Like I said, his wife is the reason I'm with my Snoopy right now. I'll say this about Ed Cohen. A doping violation is a doping violation. But I don't know a man who has more honor than Ed Cohen. I don't know a man who is a bigger ambassador for powerlifting than Ed Cohen. I don't know a man who is more of an enthusiast for powerlifting than Ed Cohen. I don't know a man who is more giving of his time and knowledge than Ed Cohen. So I'll say that. A doping violation is a doping violation. Shame on him. He did that, and shame on him. But he's much more than that. So I'll say that's what I'll say to the people who don't even want to mention his name in the IPF. That's what I'll say in defense of Ed Cohen.
We could go on with this IPF thing forever, I think, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
And it was a different time, 70s, 80s.
It was a different time. Let's remember that, because the attitude today is it's the IPF, do not use anything. Yeah. It's illegal. Back then, this is the IPF or whatever the federation was called at the time, don't get caught.
That's the thing.
And that was the accepted thought back then.
You weren't afraid.
Different time.
And side effects wasn't a part of the...
Oh, nobody thought about that.
No. And that is also a thing, I guess. You're not hurting anyone in powerlifting, right? You're only hurting yourself.
Exactly.
Though. And I think that is different. If you use, in, let's say, American football, you're hurting someone because you are stronger, because you cheated, right?
Right.
That's different. Or in fighting.
You have to acknowledge that, doping abuses in in powerlifting. That is, you're only harming yourself.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything. Let me say this to be very clear. The IPF has its rules, and I think that if you are going to use performance enhancers in the IPF, shame on you. Because if you want to use performance enhancers, that's your choice. But go to a federation where it's legal.
Yeah.
It's not legal in the IPF. So I want to say that very clearly. I do not support drug use in the IPF. Outside of the IPF, do what you want. That's your individual choice. You're not hurting anyone except yourself.
You have to...
and maybe your family.
you have to follow the rules. I don't condone with the use of, but I'm just... If someone wants to go as heavy as possible in a non-tested federation, okay, be my guest.
Yeah, that's their thing.
Yeah.
It's not legal. You're not hurting anyone except for yourself.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would be scared to death to use anything.
Yeah.
I have seen, people will argue quite strongly against what I'm about to say, but I've seen a lot of people, not recently, but back in the days when I was training in the States, I saw a lot of people using a lot of different things, and they got hurt. Some of them died because they just went overboard with certain things, and they got heart trouble, kidney trouble, liver trouble, and they died. I know guys that were in their early 20s who died.
That's the physical aspect.
Because of consequences of using it. And there's also the mental side.
Let's take into suicide account. There's some numbers out there on the steroid use. It's
frightening.
So ugly. Yeah.
And see, in those facts, and let's call them what they are, they're facts. Those facts about steroid use, along with the ethical side, because I do lift in the IPF, it
all adds up, right?
And it's not an issue for me. I couldn't imagine. No. I just couldn't imagine. It's too scary. Yeah, it's too frightening.
Yeah, totally.
And I worry about my reputation as well. I think I'm a good guy, and I want people to think I'm a good guy. Yeah. And I just couldn't. I couldn't see myself cheating like that.
No. I totally agree. It's. How can I put this? It's all up to you, but don't. I mean, be smart. Be smart. And I think if you sleep well, if you eat healthy, and if you train correctly,
you don't need it.
It's better than steroids.
Here's one thing I never understood is the 18, 19, 20-year-old who decides they want to start training and they immediately start using steroids. I don't get that.
No. Totally.
Why would you do that? You have no idea what your body can do. No idea what your body can do. I'll say this. I'm 51 years old. Find me anybody in Norway today. I don't care whether they're using or not, and I'll challenge them to squatting. And I'll beat them. Naturally, 100% clean. Point being, if that is possible, if I can say that with confidence, I have to ask that 20-year-old, why in the world don't you wait and see what your body can do? Yeah. And you'll last long. Yeah. But if you start doping now and you start getting this bad ratio between muscle mass and connective tissue instability, which is a big issue that a lot of people don't think about. But when you get into that, how long are you going to be able to keep that size and that strength? It's not going to last.
But you know, all these...
I want to be 60, 65 years old and still strong as heck.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that if you start using that stuff. No. It's not going to happen.
It's not possible. And what's am I supposed to say now?
I talk too much now. You forgot what you're going to say.
No, you're good. You're good. The dealers of steroids and all of these protein companies, what they're doing actually is leaning on beginner gains. A lot.
I'm sorry, leaning on
beginner gains.
Beginner gains, yeah.
So they know that people get stronger and bigger anyway when they start training, and then they tell that it's their product, right, who got them stronger, bigger. So
there's a little bit of I don't know. I think they're ignoring a little bit of their responsibility and their ethic responsibility up in all of that.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I think I need to. Let me turn this water on again.
No problem. It's totally irresponsible. And have you ever been to FIBO? Like this...
I'm sorry, say again?
Have you ever been to FIBO?
No.
That's like a messe where all these companies can show off their products, and then you get a sense of how big this industry is.
Okay.
It's as huge as, I'll say, 15 soccer fields.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Oslo? Is that in Oslo somewhere?
No, it's Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Yeah. In Cologne.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It should go. Well, COVID probably killed it, but yeah.
Well, it's a big industry.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. But well, I'm in it to show that it's not fitness, it's health. It's not fitness, it's life.
It's life.
We have to move, right? So many things have changed with digital and electricity and our lives, right? But our body is still like it was 500 years ago or whatever.
It's interesting you touch on something here because it's so much more than just going into the gym and grunting and sweating. Yeah. You know, it bleeds over into life. Yeah. You know, fitness and training is life, and life is also fitness and training. If you're suffering in one, you're probably going to suffer in the other. There's a balance for me anyway. There's a balance, you know, the discipline, the focus, the drive. I apply that in my life, and then it puts me in a better situation to enjoy the benefits of my training, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go get this water here.
No stress. I totally agree. The thing with evolution is that we're kind of wired to avoid pain and go into pleasure. And when you avoid pain altogether, you won't exercise. Right? Because it's kind of unpleasant to exercise, at least if you're new to it. After a while, you will associate the pain with progress and good health and, well, all the positive signs of training. But it won't be done in a week or two or three or half a year or a year maybe. But you have to get into the groove of it. And you have to take into consideration all the other aspects than the aesthetical aspect.
Right.
That won't last unless you're wired as a bodybuilder or whatever. But that's like a small percentage. It's not even a percentage.
So I'm crazy for thinking that by the time I die, I'm going to be in better shape than I am right now?
No. I love that. You never stop lifting.
Oh, God.
I don't know for I have to be a quad to stop.
I haven't trained now in about 6-8 weeks, but that's because I'm just giving it a rest because of these shoulder issues that I have. Yeah. I've had 8 shoulder surgeries since 2016.
Wow.
And the last one was just crazy. They took an Achilles tendon and sewed it into my lower trapezius.
Okay. And
wrapped it around and attached it in the front, basically to give me that outward rotation, basically replacing what the infraspinatus is supposed to do. Yeah. And it didn't work. It was an experimental surgery. I'm the only one in Norway to have had that. Yeah. It's a new procedure that they found, that they figured out at the Mayo Clinic in the United States. Yeah. And my surgeon actually went there to study under the guy that invented this procedure. I was just at the surgeon yesterday talking about it, and we're going to have another surgery. Oh my gosh, number 9 coming up.
But listen to this, people. What he's telling you now is that he had 8 surgeries, a 9th coming up, and he's not stopped lifting. So when you have a neck that's painful because you're a bit stressed, and then you skip a workout, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, don't be a chump. Don't be a chump. Work through it. Well, I don't want to say work through it because that's kind of a meathead way of looking at it.
Work around it. Yeah.
I have adjusted my powerlifting training, fully realizing that I will never have a big bench again, ever. Yeah. I've benched 235 kilos before. I did that at a significantly lighter body weight too. Yeah. I was around 115 kilos. So I'm fully aware that I'll never have a big bench again. Right now, I can't even bench a bar, just the 20 kilo bar. Can't do it. But luckily, I'm an older guy. And in my division, the bench is of less importance. Yeah. And it was an interesting process, one that I use to motivate people who are in a similar situation. I tell them my journey towards that Norwegian record squat. my shoulder was so bad, and it is so bad, that I couldn't squat with a straight bar. So all my squatting for about 18 months before that lift was done with a safety squat bar.
Yeah.
And the most I squatted in training was 2 sets of 3 with 285 kilos. But SSB squats, safety squat bars, squats are so much more difficult than straight bar that it was actually a benefit to me. My core strength went up through the roof. My quad strength up through the roof. With SSB squats, you have to have that control, because if you lean too far forward, you're going to face plant right into the floor. So I never squatted more than a triple with 285 kilos, but I ended up squatting at that competition 335, 0.5. Can't forget the 0.5. So that is a perfect example of having an injury, having a hindrance, if you will, but working around that to continue the progress. Yeah. So I like to tell some of these younger and older lifters who are meeting resistance in their training, and I try to tell them, this doesn't mean that you have to stop. This doesn't mean that you have to give up your dream. You just have to have a different path forward.
So in your bench now, are you kind of focusing more on the tricep extension of the bench, trying to keep your...
Well, for the last 2.5 years, probably closer to 3 years now, I have not benched in training at all.
Yeah. Okay. That's crazy.
I had at the last meet where I set the squat record, I had that squat and I benched 25 kilos.
Okay, yeah.
Because you have to, for those who don't understand powerlifting, you have to have at least one lift in the squat, bench, and deadlift. So I couldn't skip the bench.
No.
So the least amount I could do was the bar with the 2 collars. Yeah. That's legally the smallest amount you can do. Yeah. So that's what I did. And barely, I'm not kidding you, I barely was able to bench that during that competition. That's how bad my shoulder is.
Well, how is your shoulder during a proper squat? You need a super wide grip to...
Well, what I did, like I said, leading up to that competition, all I could do was safety squat bar. So I did that. And then 1 week before the competition, my last training day, I went into the powerlifting club. Shout out to the Drummond Powerlifting Club. I went into the club, and I had all of my teammates and club mates and people spotting me. While what did I put on the bar? 290 on the bar. And this was after doing maybe an hour's worth. I actually started warming up at home, trying to relax that shoulder cuff, that rotator cuff, as much as possible. Because as I sit here, I wish we had video of it so the listeners can see, but I can do this with my right arm, and you see I can't even lift my... So I had to loosen that rotator cuff up and then literally take my right hand and place my left hand on the bar, and then wiggle my way under the bar, and literally grunting because it hurts so bad. And just do that rep with 2. I think I warmed up to 270, and then I did another set with 280, single, just to prove to myself that I could, no matter how difficult it was, get under the bar. Yeah. And of course, it was a high bar. I think the bar was sitting more on my head than it was on my shoulders. Yeah. But that was my preparation for that meet. That was the one and only time over the course of about 2 years that I touched a straight bar for squat. So that was my prep. And then I went to the meet, and, adrenaline and focus and active meditation, just kind of blocking out the uncomfortableness and the pain. And I got under the bar and I did it.
That's what age does to you, right? Another one wouldn't go to the meet because he couldn't squat with a straight bar. You do the SSB bar, you work with your mental state, and then you go and set a record. I mean, that shows everything.
I'm very proud. I've had a long athletic career. I've been an athlete for over 40 years. And that day was the culmination of the best athletic preparation I've ever had in my life. And to me, it's amazing to me. I don't care if it's amazing to anyone else. I'm not saying these things for purposes of ego, but for me personally, it was an amazing process. It was a process that gave me confidence, not just with my lifting, but in life. And here we go, where the training mentality bleeds into life and vice versa.
Yeah.
Going through that, it just gave me that reaffirmation that I can do whatever the heck I want. Yeah. If I put my mind to it, I can do it. Yeah. You know, I got tastes of that as a kid, you know, playing football in high school. I got a big dose of it in the United States Marines, and then I got it again during that meet. So it's a good feeling, you know. You got to find out what do you want in life? What is your goal? If you don't have one, make one and then achieve it and then feel good about it. Yeah. It will carry you through life. It will carry you through the tough times. It just makes you know that you're going to be all right.
Yeah, it does. I have this group session I do where I live, actually. It's like 10 to 15.
You're in Oslo, right?
No.
No.
I'm at Narsnes, Asker. It's just like close by the sea. Do you know Vollen?
Yes. Yeah.
Close by.
Okay.
And they come, like, we've been doing this for like 3 years, and they come each and every week to have this, let's call it a boot camp. The most important thing they have learned is that you never stop. That's what I'm telling them all throughout that workout. Don't stop. Look ahead of you. Don't look down. Keep on working. And that applies to everything in life, right?
Yeah.
So that's my main objective. And I tell them, and that is why I think they come each and every week. It's not about the booty. It's not about the thighs. It's about
the achievement.
Life quality.
It's about, yeah.
So they
it's a beautiful thing.
They extract from that just a better life.
And it's a beautiful thing to see people understand that.
Yeah. It takes time.
It takes time. You know, you don't just fall into that. It's a process. Yeah. It's a process. And like I say, I'm lucky that I started that process. Well, you know, I can thank I've been on a telephone with some of my old football coaches from way back when I was a kid, thanking them for putting that discipline and that way of thinking into me way back then, because I have carried it with me all the way up until all the way up into my adult life.
Yeah.
It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
It's a process, and after a while, it actually gets to the point where it's like showering, brushing your teeth. Yeah. It's something that you do.
It's normal. Yeah.
And that's also just the product of maintaining, doing, even though you don't feel like it. And then you get to the point where it's a necessity, an obligation to yourself, and everyday life.
Yeah.
There's nothing strange about it. It's nothing special. You just do it.
So speaking of just doing it, how are you getting it done now in these Corona times? You know, Norway is in not a total shutdown at the moment, but we have kind of gone back to the way it was in the late spring, early summer. Yeah. Very little public activity. How are you feeling that now with your business? Yeah,
just short on my business. It's like two-sided. I have my own, which is personal trainer and physio Øystein Jensen. And then you have my company, which is called Corporis. And what we do is that we put personnel or competence into offices, real estate. And then we run the gym, the training room like a gym.
What a cool concept.
Yeah, it's cool. It's so cool to be like a...
Very new thinking.
Let's call it a pioneer project.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah. But these rooms are, almost nearly all shut down because of the corona. And so what we've been working on is getting these people to understand that we can do something digitally. It won't be the same, but it's something. And I think that the most important thing for an employer to consider is that if you give the employees just a tad bit of, you're just doing a bit more than is expected, you'll get a huge return. So they are seen in their struggles at home. They're taken care of in a way, even though maybe it's like 15 minutes every second day. It's so important as an employer that I think of this. So but so we're doing some digital work, and it's this really interesting thing that if you're a physio in Norway, you can work. If you're a personal trainer, you can't.
Right.
But you do the same thing.
Exactly.
So it's just
technicalities.
Yeah, technicalities, semantics, right?
Yeah.
So that leads, yeah.
Well, now let me ask you this: how are your clients, your corporate clients, reacting to the change in what you're offering them? I don't know how it works. If you have a contract with them, and they're used to you being there, running their little gym unit at their business, but now all of a sudden it has to be done digitally. By how do they react to that?
Well, what actually I see some.
Do they say screw this? This isn't what we're paying for. Goodbye. Or
no, they're not, and most of our services actually towards all the persons in that building, so they're paying themselves, right?
Okay.
So the employer is not always paying.
I see.
What I do see is that when we came up with this digital program, many of the people who wouldn't dare to meet us in person are now contacting us via Microsoft Teams, and we have a consultation.
It's an interesting thing
because you get this distance which they need.
You have that fearful person who's maybe a woman who's never been in a gym before, self-conscious about their physique maybe. So maybe the distance of the video follow-up is more appealing to them.
Yeah, it is. So, and then you have the people that needs that physical thing, like they're more connected maybe with themselves and others, and they are out there running their asses off. Literally losing their ass, right?
Literally.
Yeah. So, I've been advising a lot of clients on how to put up a training room at home. Some are also keeping the training rooms up and running because a training room is not a training center. Again, semantics. And on the other side, I'm just, to get by and going back to my roots.
Yeah.
I'm more of a personal trainer now, right? Oh, sorry, physio. I'm not doing any violation. So I'm training and rehabbing people out of my garage. So I have quite a few clients.
I'll show you my garage when we're finished.
Cool.
I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, I love it.
And thank you to a common friend that we have, Mr. Daniel Eriksson.
Yeah,
he's the one who.
Shout out.
I love that guy. Yeah. I knew him. When I started my gyms up north, when I was living up north. This was back in 2007, I believe, when I first met him.
Was working for Life?
Life, yeah. And he helped me to furnish those gyms with some equipment. So our contact was just by telephone for quite some time. And I ended up coming down south to meet him later, like in 2012, 11 or 12, something like that. We finally met face to face. And he told me afterwards, I think he told me on the podcast episode, that he was so surprised because he thought, when we're on the phone and we're talking, and I told him I'm from Ohio, grew up out in the country, and somehow it came up that I liked Neil Young's music. He thought I was like this simple, like blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy wearing flannel shirts, like a cowboy, hillbilly type of guy. And then he sees me, and I'm not blonde-haired, blue. I'm kind of a hillbilly, but
you're not Billy Ray Cyrus. Is the first thing I'm thinking about now.
So shout out to Daniel. Yeah. I love that guy.
Yeah, it is.
So you have a business cooperation with him now, do you not? How does that work? What is that all about?
Well, I'm in contact.
Only tell us if it's legal.
Yeah, it is. I'm talking to the owners of these office buildings, huge real estate companies. And what they usually do is they contact a salesperson of fitness equipment and tell them to come in, and they come with an offer on what they should put in there.
Yeah.
Thing is that you can't really trust that. They're thinking of margins. They're thinking economy. While I come in there and based on my, experience and know-how, I tell them, or with Daniel, draw out what I feel is the best solution of this room.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
And then you take that plan to Daniel, and then he makes it a reality with the equipment that that Eleiko has.
Yeah, and then we give them a good offer. As long as they're using me, they get like a certain discount on that, which they wouldn't get elsewhere. So
that's a good arrangement.
But you know, Eleiko it's expensive.
Sure, it is
out there, but it's equally good.
That's what I was going to say. My whole thing with starting my home gym here in my garage was to have something. First of all, because everything shut down when Corona first got big here in Norway, and I said I can never. I have goals. I have things I want to do, and I cannot be in a situation where I can't train. That's just not acceptable. And right away, I thought of Daniel and Eleiko because my thing was I wanted to have equipment. I wanted to have a training possibility that is exactly like what I'm going to see at a competition.
Yeah.
And the IPF uses Eleiko equipment, Eleiko plates and all that stuff. This sounds like a commercial for Eleiko. I'm not getting paid, people. I'm not getting paid to say this. but right away I thought of Daniel and Eleiko. Yeah, and I'm so glad I did that.
And their philosophy is so appealing. It's down to earth. It's a family company still.
I was just going to, it is. I was just going to say their philosophy basically is Daniel's personality. He is the most approachable guy, the kindest guy, and he has your best interests in heart.
It's genuine.
It's a genuine family. I talk to him like he's my brother. He's just a good guy.
He is.
So when I think of Eleiko, I think of Daniel. How's that for a commercial? When you think of Eleiko, think of Daniel.
Such a great guy.
No, but in all seriousness, he is such a good ambassador for Eleiko.
Yes, strong is happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's their motto, and
but that's a good business arrangement you have with them then.
Yeah, it is, and we can sell it, or we can provide it with our heads up high, right? This is the best.
Yes.
And then I'm not a salesperson. I couldn't just do that with any piece of equipment.
No, and you have to believe in what you're selling.
And I've gotten good offers from other providers, but it's not even an option. I need to touch that bar and feel it's the best.
Yeah, and it is. I couldn't see myself training with anything else.
And they have ethical, I think that's important, ethical, moral responsibility, which they adhere to. Their production is in Sweden, and they have some elsewhere in Europe. They're looking after their employees. They're thinking about the environment. It's not just profit.
Yeah,
it's a
Well, they hold themselves accountable because it is truly a family business.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I should reveal, but if Corona wouldn't have gotten in the way, I had a little arrangement with Eleiko where I was going to, in a sense, take over their social media and give seminars and some training videos and talk with some of their people that follow them on social media. But then Corona came up, and so that got in the way. We're going to come back to that, though. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, you should.
So I believe in Eleiko. I believe in that company. They're good people.
Yeah, they are.
Both Daniel and also the people in Sweden.
Yeah, and it still sounds like a commercial, though.
But I swear I'm not getting paid to say these things.
This is we're kind of lifters, right? We're interested in lifting, so Eleiko will come up. And when they get an innovation, it's not for the sake of innovation. It's just a really good or better product, like the Öppen, the new what's it called, trap bar?
Yeah.
Which is no longer a trap bar because they opened.
I was just going to say it's so much more than a trap bar. It's
so now
amazing.
you can do lunges in the trap bar. You can do so many variations. And what they did is genius. They just took away one side of it, and kept the balance of it. And then
that's genius. It's so simple.
And no one thought about it.
It's so simple, and no one thought of it until they did.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of those. I don't really. Well, I'll show you afterwards. I'm a little bit limited on space. I'm very limited on space in my garage, but that bar, I would love to have that bar. Yeah. I'm just not sure that I have the room to be able to use it. No. We'll see. You're the expert. You'll tell me when we go see it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you have this cooperation with Eleiko. You're helping these businesses not only to train their employees but to furnish their locations. what kind of results are you seeing? Why should these businesses have this cooperation with you? What do they gain from you being involved with their employees and their health?
It's many aspects. They can outsource the focus on mental and physical health in a way. So, like, let's take this back to what I said about 90-10, right?
Yeah.
90% is how I care for them and their growth within themselves, and 10% is training. And many employees need the same care from their employer, but that's difficult, right? When you're a CEO or a CFO, or you're crunching numbers and you have these ridiculous demands from the board, it's difficult to put your arm around Anne and tell her it's going to be okay through your divorce. So they're kind of outsourcing that with us.
Smart.
We have room for that.
Just think about that for a second. Think about how much productivity can be lost if those kind of things are not taken care of in some way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then,
of course, it's profitable for them to be in business with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you also look into the numbers, you see that when it comes to sick leave, 10% of all the workers at a place makes out 60% of the sick leave.
Uh-huh.
And these people are afraid of training. They won't train, they're afraid, they're in pain, or whatever. So imagine what will happen if we can reach that 10%. So that's our goal.
So I'm a business owner, and let's say I'm a podcasting production company, and I have 45 employees between podcasters and production people. And I'm a newly started business, and you find out about my business, and then you want to have some sort of cooperation with me.
Yeah.
How do you approach me? What do you tell me?
Well, first of all, I will see and affirm your issues with taking care of the emotional aspects of your employees, and I can tell you that we could help you with that.
Yeah.
Actually, without any cost. You need to grant us access to your training room, and they will come to us, and they will pay themselves because they're just happy that someone is there acknowledging that they have problems or issues they need to sort out, either mental, physical, or whatever.
So only investment I have to be concerned with, financial investment I'm concerned with as a business owner, is to provide the space for the training room and to buy the equipment.
Yeah.
And then my employees will then just pay you direct.
Yeah. And then we also...
What a concept.
Of course...
Who's going to say... What business owner is going to say no to that?
No, they don't. They don't.
You can't lose. You can't lose.
Each and every tenant company within an office building will have the possibility to buy tailored programs or tailored groups. So what we do is we do a macro analysis, which we talk to HR and the leaders of the company. Okay, where are the issues? For a construction company, it's neck, back.
Oh, yeah.
Like physical issues.
Direct physical issues.
Yeah, and let's say for a clothing company, there's at any time there's 30 pregnant women, which needs to be taken care of, right? So we need to tailor. Yeah. We can't come with our own products, like, for instance, SATS or whatever, like Build and Burn or Bootylicious and all that. That's just scary.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
Then we won't reach the target group, which we have set. So we call it, like, the groups are really down, mellow. You have strength, endurance. You have yoga.
Something that's approachable for the common person.
Pilates. And then our specific groups for pregnancy, heart issues, because we employ physios.
How many are you in your company?
Around 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Around 10. They are self-employed. Okay.
Okay. So it's a conglomerate. It's like a collective of individuals who are just pooling their resources. Then it's not actually. They're not actually your employees. They're more of your coworkers.
Yeah, in a way, because so we make the deal. We send out the bill to the companies and the individuals training, and our employees send us their bill.
I see.
So they don't need to keep track of anything but working and providing quality.
Yes.
So that's the business model. We
So simple, and again, it sounds like it. What business owner would say no to that? What an opportunity to clean up in some issues before they even become issues within a company.
Yeah. And we start out from the standpoint of giving. So we provide lectures for free, which anyone can come, because we do know that there needs to be established some kind of connection between the user and us.
I see.
Some kind of emotional, professional, whatever the person in front of you needs. And someone can go past us when we're on the stand and just book their session because they're like outgoing.
Because it's that easy.
Because they're like that.
Yeah.
Others need to pass us 25 times and look at your face and say hi and all of that before they like have the confidence and the trust in us to come.
And that's why I like the way you describe, just what you're not using these alarmist terms, the booty blaster, and you're keeping it approachable for those people who may be afraid, those people who maybe have never seen the inside of a gym before. Yeah. What a great concept.
It's really important. And I feel like our responsibility. Okay, the huge business in this is to reach the ones that really love training. But the commercial gyms does that. We wouldn't stand a chance if we wanted to do that.
But you're something totally, it's a totally separate, it's I almost don't like it when people use the term the training branch because it's not just one thing.
No.
You're a totally different aspect of that.
I would like put us in between a commercial gym and a place of doctors and physios, right in between there.
And it's a good place to be. It sounds like it's a unique offer.
It's empty. It's all echoes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are the brain behind this. You're the one that thought of this concept.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe I had a stroke or something.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, where does that kind of thought process? To me, that's very motivational, very inspirational. I like people who think different.
Yeah.
I like to consider myself a deep thinking guy. I'm always, trying to cook up a new concept or something new to think on or new to do. And I never would have come across the concept that you describe.
I think it was just a result of me. I trained people at a training facility, commercial gym, right? And then I had some clients who were kind of private and whatever.
Yeah.
So I went to their house. They wanted it there. I trained them. And
that's a good market, home training. Yeah,
it is. It's upcoming. And I've been there for a while. And then I had some clients who wanted to work out at their workplace. So I was like kind of all over the place. What I saw is like, okay, the commercial gyms, the quality of the personal training, everything is going up. It's getting better, right? But I went to the workplace. I just saw it was kind of the wife of the CFO, who kind of liked training, did a circuit. And for me, with a long education, all my experience, I was like, okay, this is not what should be. And and I looked around on all. What you see is some of these commercial gyms have a corporate fitness strategy, which is they sell their product. They say bootylicious. They come in, they do the session, and then they go out. So I was thinking like, okay, what if we stayed there? What if we listened to people? What if we took care of them? What if that was the only place our employees were, and they considered their workplace to take care of these people? And that was, that was the start of it, and it just kind of blew up
from there.
Yeah, it did. I'm fortunate to have a client which is an owner of an office building, and he just wanted a new training room. Yeah. And I went in and I kind of did my thing, talked to Daniel, and what was the result of that room was much better than any gym. And I was like,
how long ago was this? When was this?
3 years. 3 years ago. And then I was like, oh, we should put people here. Then we can serve all the employees of the building. We can take care of the equipment. Because if you go to any training room, it's like 50% of the equipment is out of order, needs service.
Yeah.
But we will also stay there and like look after everything's.
So what was that proper. Then? Was that the beginning 3 years ago? Was that the beginning of this collective of physios?
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah.
10 of you within 3 years. Wow, that's progress.
It is. It's,
How much bigger do you think it'll get for you personally?
I think we can scale this quite big. We're starting off in Bergen now. We have a deal done in Stavanger actually, and we never managed to start it. And what you can do is you can scale it within each company.
I see.
We started with Entra down at Havnelageret. We didn't get that far before Corona came, but that's a company that owns
Havnegata, that's over by Aker Brygge.
By Barcode, Bjørvik.
There, yeah. Barcode.
Sorry. And
I'm not too familiar with Oslo, actually. But that, Barcode.
so they have that building, but they also have, listen to this, 1.2 million square meters of office buildings.
Really?
In Norway.
Oh.
So we can scale within each real estate company.
Well, then you would have to start recruiting a lot of physios, and in the interest of diversity, if you ever need a Black American to add to your staff, give me a call.
Absolutely.
We are a diverse company. See, we have John here, our token Black.
We need him.
We need him.
Yeah, but that is the biggest issue, actually.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, because we need a quality that's kind of above average.
Right.
When it comes to qualification. And then, unfortunately, many qualified people are, I wouldn't say assholes, but people we don't want.
I see.
Okay?
What are you looking for? What are they not doing? Or
if they come to me and are convinced that their way of doing it is the rule, then we have a problem.
Yes. Well, it goes back to that ignorance thing, because I call ignorance, that is the lack of the willingness to accept new knowledge.
Yeah.
That's ignorance.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that almost always applies to young people, which are the ones we need. So they will learn and they will get more humble, but then it's too late. Right?
So you're looking for that person who is maybe newly educated in the field, obviously intelligent, but they have a certain humility. They're humble and they're aware that there's more information out there. That's who you're looking for then.
Yeah, and they need to be kind of adventurous.
Yeah.
Not scared. Just put themselves out there. And
man, that's got to be self-fulfilling right there, to be in a position where you're looking for those kind of people, and then to find those kind of people. What a good feeling.
Yeah. And I'm really blessed with a co-worker of mine called Tore Morten. He's a partner in the company. And
Tore Morten, what's his last name?
Tore Morten Otterstad. He's a osteopath, physical therapist, and personal trainer.
There you go. Give him a shout out so people know who he is. Yeah,
the best guy of them all. And he does a lot of the interviews and hiring.
Okay.
And the reason is that I'm too emotional.
Really? Yeah.
I get angry, I get happy, and I get sad on the same scale, right?
Little ADHD, Elliot?
Yeah, it is. It is. Highly. So, and that's my problem. So maybe from one statement from a guy, I can be like, no effing way.
Yeah.
And the same on the other hand. Yeah, this is great. But I haven't gone in depth, right? I make a conclusion too early in that environment or in that situation. I wouldn't say that's my philosophy. It clearly ain't, but I can, yeah.
But that says a lot about you that you can say that. Yeah. A lot of people won't admit that they have that shortcoming.
No, it's a shortcoming, definitely.
A lot of people won't speak on it, but you are.
Absolutely, and I need Tore Morten because he's much more analytical, much more laid back, listening, not concluding that fast.
Right.
And it showed that once he comes back to me and says, well, this is the person.
Isn't that great to have a working relationship with someone who counterbalances the shortcomings that you have? And I'm sure you do the same for him.
Yeah.
Not to sound all sweet and sugary, but that's what I have in my marriage with my wife.
Yeah.
She's everything that I'm not, and I'm everything that she isn't.
Yeah.
And it makes us fit together.
Yeah, just like my relationship with my wife. Hi, Stina, I love you.
Hello, Stina, he loves you.
And I'm like the ADHD personality, right?
That's
I'm all
me.
over the place.
I told you we have a lot in common.
Yeah, listen to me. I have this creative thought, right?
Yeah.
And that's what what made this company and what made me, and what has kind of resulted in all of these personal trainings. And I don't lose a client. No, never, because they keep evolving and they find our relationship valuable.
See, that's a beautiful thing. And again, I see the crossover potential from the business aspects of that into the daily life aspects of that.
And it's equally valuable to me.
Sure.
Or else it wouldn't work. They mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you. I have people valuable in my life, and I have people that are just there, right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of put these people into the same pool as I put, like like real friends, like I put family, and they're kind of invited into that circle where I take care of them.
But don't you get burned sometimes? Doesn't that hurt you sometimes? People take advantage of it, maybe.
Yeah, it has happened.
But you're willing to stay the same and still be this open, accepting person, and you pull them into your circle. It's
the only way.
Yeah.
Actually, but actually that came with again, life. Okay. So that's a process.
Yeah.
I just chose positivity.
Wow.
You
chose positivity. What a simple way of saying it, but it's so true.
Yeah, it is. And just not let anything weigh you down. Yeah. Everything can be solved.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can lose sight of that, but if you always keep it in mind that, hey, this is a little rough, but I can find my way out. And again, that comes from experience. That comes from a background of success stories. You've had challenges before, and you just kind of know, hey, this is rough, but I can do this.
Yeah. And I have these clients, like, I feel so blessed. I started out with them in 2006. We're still working out together. Yeah. And it's like I have this one client, I worked with her, and then I had her daughter, had some issues. I helped her. Then they have her grandchildren, and I advise her on how to help them with their obstacles. And also worked with her husband. He, best guy ever. And he had a cancer, a lung cancer. He came out of that. Then he suffered a huge stroke.
Good Lord.
Yeah, in Spain, and he was brought home. And then he was put in the hospital. He was a business owner as well. He was like really a great guy, but when he said something, he meant it.
Yeah.
So when he came into the hospital, it was like, I want my physio here. And I think he said it that many times that, okay. And then he came back on his feet, actually, from that stroke. But unfortunately, he had an injury where he broke his femur, and then that was the start of the end, and then he died. And to be there through everything, to be a part of that family, I learned that everyone should be a part of mine as well.
Wow, so what a beautiful story.
Went through the funeral, and I continued working with her, helping her and the rest of the family. And we still have a marvelous relationship today.
There's a lot of beauty in what you're saying there. I knew we had a few things in common. I knew there was things about you that interested me, but I didn't quite know what they were. And I'm seeing now, as you're telling me these stories and these things and your viewpoints on things, you're a person who, in spite of any conflict or issues that you may have, you always want to be in a position where you can help others.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
It's accurate. I'm hugely emotional.
Yeah.
Hugely. I
am too, and I'm not afraid to say it. Good Lord, I put my heart out there on several podcast episodes. But what is this thing with men who are afraid to admit that they are emotional? They're afraid to admit that they have feelings. What is that?
Yeah, they only show one feeling, which is anger and aggressive, to be aggressive, and that's their armor, right? Mm-hmm. That's the armor, and it's all cultural.
I
It's
think
all
so.
learned behavior because the one you look up to is the same, right?
Yeah.
Usually, someone in close family, and but then you start tapping into that softer side, right? And then you feel that growth from actually recognizing that is important.
Yeah.
That makes you a whole person. You've been kind of hiding a huge part of you
Yeah.
in aggression, and then you just feel how much that is helping your relationships to others, how that is giving you life quality, even your sleep. I never spend more time than 5 seconds falling asleep. And that comes
So you literally sleep like a baby. I love it.
every single night, never ever spending time. And that because when I go to bed, I know I've done my best. Even though things go to hell, but I've done my best.
Man, that's
Always.
that's so beautiful to hear you say that. There's not a lot of people who can say that.
No.
You said a while ago, you choose to be positive. And we hear so much in daily conversation. If we had like a meter that would count points for positive things we hear throughout the day, and count negative things that we hear throughout the day, I bet, and this is actually negative to say it, but I think it's the truth. I think that negative meter would have a lot more points than the positive one. People don't speak on the positive often enough.
Yeah.
And these things that you're saying now are so incredibly positive. It shouldn't surprise me to hear these things, but it does, because people don't say these things often enough.
I talked to a real estate guy just a week ago, and he said something really interesting. He said that you're so lucky to always work in a win-win situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, how come? What do you mean? He's like, in business, there's always a winner and a loser. The winner almost takes it all, and the loser has to pay. That's business. Well, I get money, and the client gets better.
Gets a better life.
Always.
Good point.
So that's
Good
a blessing.
point.
That's a blessing. And
Well, it's a good business branch to be in. You are in the business of helping people, and there's nothing negative about that.
no, it isn't. It isn't. So so fortunate, so blessed. Because when you make that commitment or choice of your future and your education, you don't know this.
No.
You take a chance, right?
You're rolling the dice.
Yeah. So that's fate. That's really fate. And
So you couldn't see yourself doing anything else. other than what you're doing.
I was
This is-
actually, when I chose this, like physio, I was like, okay, that's like a clinical profession. It's highly respected. That would be good. But then you get into it and like, oh, my skills now, what I learned at uni is practically nothing. Well, it gives you a base and confidence.
Sure.
But then you start working with people and you get that, okay,
And there's the real work.
yeah, the anatomy is whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can open a book and read and learn
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
It's that people connection.
Yeah,
It's the actual helping of people.
yeah,
That's where the real learning begins.
yeah.
And that's a never-ending process.
Yeah.
Every day you do this, you're going to learn more. Every day you
Absolutely.
do this, you're going to be better.
Yeah, it's and now I could.
Isn't that cool? Just
Yeah.
think about it. Isn't that cool?
It's so
That's
cool,
just-
and I could go on and on and on this. Yeah, and I'm so sad that it's so difficult to learn to pass on because they have to experience.
You just have to do it, actually. Yeah.
I was working as a lecturer in like personal training school, and I so much wanted to bring this message across, but then I realized that the people receiving the message wasn't in a state where they can take it in and apply it. So, but I did my best. But I came to a point where I can't do this. It's just wrong because I can't give them what I want because they just wanted a base of executing and
I see.
not a base of connecting.
Interesting.
It's all about sales, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about sales and the also the schools of personal training. They just want to put people through. And
Yeah, what is
make
this thing?
money,
Isn't
right?
there's some personal training education you can get where you go away to Bali
Yeah.
for like 30 days, 60, something like that, and you come back and you're a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're like a 19, 20-year-old with no life experience. And I would guess that it's a crappy PT education.
Yeah.
They probably spend more time surfing than learning how to be a personal trainer.
Of course.
Then they come back and I don't know. I hope they're not polluting the fitness training PT world with bad knowledge. I hope they're not doing that. I'm just a little skeptical of that pathway to them getting into that position to so profoundly affect people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of scary. And
It's a little scary, yeah.
but what you see, fortunately, is that the people getting into this on the wrong reasons,
They probably fall to the wayside.
they fall to the wayside quite fast,
Okay.
actually. So
Okay.
the ones living off of this, they have more or less the same philosophy of taking care of people.
I see,
Those are
yeah.
the ones staying, because
Right.
each and every client they get, they stay.
They stay.
Yeah. And
Well, the
that-
clients aren't stupid. They see the difference in quality.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And the quality of caring, not the quality of training. They're quite a similar everyone. Gone to the same school. They know the same shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to trash the personal training industry, because there's
No, and
so
I
many.
don't. I'm very careful about doing that. But then again, there is a difference. You see the people who are truly qualified and those who are not.
Yeah, you can see it immediately.
Those who are committed and those who are just in it for a paycheck.
Yeah, so many of the trainers are scared of the clients being unhappy of the results. So they're not, it's brick by brick, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to go the route. But so what is your responsibility then? Well, it's to understand, to educate their client on why. And that process is valuable to them.
Yeah.
And that takes skillful talk
Sure.
and sincerity in that wish for them.
And it takes experience with of dealing with other people.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
can't come out of school a fresh personal trainer and know how to do that.
No,
That's something you have to find out along the way.
but they could mention it at school,
Yeah,
right?
it would be nice.
Yeah, because sales is emotion.
Sure.
Yeah.
You said you're married. How long you been married?
5 years.
What's your wife do for a living?
She works in a kindergarten.
Oh,
Yeah, right now she's out there sick. She had some issues, and most recently she dislocated her shoulder, actually.
oh boy.
She was
A sister in shoulder problems.
Yeah, she was working out, getting there. She was so good, going like 3 times a week in the garage and really, I don't know, like the word, but grinding.
Yeah.
And then she just
Making progress
wanted to do a snatch with a dumbbell. Yeah, it went kind of to the side, right?
Yeah.
And then it popped.
Oh man.
And she didn't just injure her rotator cuff, but the ligaments of the shoulder and the axillary nerve.
Oh, and gosh,
So
and the nerve.
the deltoid is turned off, right? So yeah, I feel so sorry for her. That's hard to watch, because you get from this positive, hugely
Yeah,
positive vibes.
yeah.
Finally, I'm there where I worked out for like half a year, really methodically getting into it, and it's part of life. And then you get that huge.
How's she doing now, though? Is she on her way back, or
She's getting, this happened in September. So
Still fresh.
she's getting better, but
Still
she still doesn't know the root. That's her big issue. Back to, I actually dare to say this, that women are in greater need of security than men.
I think so.
I think so as well. So her not knowing where this is going is a big issue. So she went to the orthopedist and the neurologist, and they kind of probably had a meeting and made an assessment, but they haven't called her yet. And that's a big problem.
Yeah.
For me, it wouldn't be,
Right.
because I'm different. And it's all about personality and security. But I understand her. I get where she's from, right?
Oh, so do I. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Share my story with her about my shoulder.
I will.
Maybe there's something in there she can get
Absolutely.
some comfort from.
Yeah, work around it.
These ladies in our life, though, I call my wife Snoopy, which I got from when Hege. When Hege introduced me to her. This is way back in, I think it was 1997 or 98. My wife, who at that time I didn't know, she came to Chicago to visit Hege, right? They're lifetime friends they've been.
She's a powerlifter or just new Hege?
She's just she actually was, I think she was the first female to ever get her scuba diving certificate.
Wow.
And I think she was only 15 or 16 when she did that.
Wow.
In Norway. She was also at one point known as the most active aerobics instructor in Drammen. She used to have 5 and 6 aerobic hours a day.
Wow.
At a gym here in Drammen. So she has a fitness background. She's never been a powerlifter. She's never competed in bodybuilding or body fitness or anything. But she has a definite fitness background. She's out in the woods right now. She's been sending me photos.
Ah, nice.
She's out in the woods. I'm surprised she was sending me photos because she was going to go somewhere way up in Finnmark without cell phone coverage, she said.
I was there 2 days ago.
Okay, yeah, well, that's where somewhere up there. And but somehow she still has cell phone coverage. Cool. So she's been sending me photographs. I told her, don't kill anything. She's a tough little.
I go in there to try to kill something. I'm hunting.
You go hunting up there?
Yeah, but
moose.
No birds.
Oh man, you got to go for moose.
Yeah.
Go for the big game.
Yeah, I know. I'll get there next year, hopefully.
Are there currently any wolves up there? There's been wolves that come through there from time to time.
Yeah, but no, I think they're loners, right?
Yeah, just a loner that comes in from Sweden, maybe.
Yeah, well, they are in Norway now. So what usually happens, what I understood, sorry to all the biologists out there, is that you get a male wolf who tries to come into a pack, and the male there gives him a real beating, and then he leaves to find another pack and try. So these are the wanderers, and they could keep 10 kilometers per hour for days.
Yeah.
That's why
what a tough animal.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a shame that people are so anti-wolf in Norway. People, all the farmers want to. I get it; they're killing their sheep, but what happened to the old days where you had a dog and you had the shepherd who was actually out, in the wilderness taking care of the sheep? Why can't they go back to those days? Why do they have to kill the wolves?
This is kind of the huge circle of life, I guess, because we're producing meat now for a ridiculously low price. Okay, people, you shouldn't pay what we're paying for a kilo of lamb meat.
Yeah.
So what they need to do is to make the production costs 0 to nothing in order for them to have any income on it. Then you can't have a shepherd out there 24/7. Right. And then you have a wolf isn't tame.
No. A
So,
wolf does. What gets me is they know. They expect the wolf to know these boundaries, these geographic boundaries. They say you can have so many wolves in Hedmark.
Yeah.
Okay, did anybody tell the wolves that?
Oh, that's the thing. And if I were to send my kids to the bus stop when it's dark in the middle of the forest, that's where I live, and there are wolves, that's not a good feeling. I get that. No. I get that.
I do.
Absolutely. And if on top of that, killing their livelihood, this is, okay, I get it. But I don't know what to do because I feel wolves belong in the ecosystem. So
that's my main concern is that we're screwing around with the natural order of things. I guess I'm thinking, why can't they hire, I'm sure there's some kid who, maybe for a year before he goes off to college, he's finished with high school, but he doesn't want to go to college yet. He'll take that job, live in a tent, for the summer, and have a dog with him and live in a tent and take care of the sheep.
Yeah. But so
pay him for that, and then we, the consumer. First of all, I don't like sheep meat. I think it's disgusting. That's one of the only things my wife and I argue about is when she wants to have fårikål, things like that, spek. I just think it's so. She's got like a whole the ass end of a sheep hanging from a hook in the kitchen for a month.
Yeah.
And oh God, it's just disgusting. She's such a savage. But for those who do eat sheep meat, I think. Don't you think that we would be willing? They would be willing to pay.
Absolutely.
I don't know, 20 kroners extra for a kilo of sheep's meat to cover the cost of paying a shepherd.
Absolutely.
I just wish they would just put that process into the spin of things.
And the interesting thing is, like, take this into consideration, right? People in Oslo, we talk a lot about, or here down south, we talk a lot about how we should preserve the life of a wolf and everything. But we're not living there.
Exactly.
And the people living with wolves, they have strong opinions on how we should deal with immigration. Immigrants is not living there. So we're talking about things we don't know.
Exactly.
That's why I stay humble when it comes to this.
Yeah, and I humbly throw a suggestion out there that these sheep farmers, let it be government subsidized. Norway has a lot of money. Here we go. Subsidize the cost of hiring a shepherd to live out in the wilderness for the summer. And the government, in a way, can get that money back if, let's say, the kilo price for sheep meat has to go up by 20 kroners.
Yeah.
And if the government gets back through a tax 10 of those 20 kroners, and the rest goes to the shepherd.
I mean,
isn't everybody happy then? The wolf can stay. The sheep are protected. Of course, you'll still lose sheep, but they're better protected because you have a shepherd with a dog out there. And the government gets a little money back.
And the thing is that the government is paying for each and every animal killed by the wolf today. They're compensating that instead of getting...
I think they're doing it backwards. I think they're just...
In a way, yeah.
I think so. I should run for political office.
You do that. I vote for you.
I don't think I could do it.
No. I know it's too.
Snoopy has I keep calling my wife Snoopy. You know, I was in the middle of telling you why I call her Snoopy.
Yeah, you were.
Wow. Two guys with ADHD type personalities here. 20 minutes later, I come back to the point. No, so my wife came to visit Hege way back then. And of course, you know, I'm living in the Chicago area. I don't know any Norwegian. And so Hege and I are in the gym training. My wife walks in. Of course, I didn't know her at the time. And Hege shouts out across the gym, "Hey, Snuppa."
Oh, yeah, Snuppa.
And I heard her say Snuppa, which for those who are not Norwegian or Scandinavian, Snuppa is like sweetheart or hey, girlfriend, or, you know, sweetie or whatever.
Yeah.
"Hi, Snuppa," she says. So my wife comes in all the way into the gym, gives Hege a hug, and then Hege says, "Yeah, here's my friend I want you to meet." And I said, "Yeah, hi, Snoopy. My name is John." That's the first day I met my wife. So ever since then, she's been Snoopy.
That's so funny.
Snoopy, that's her.
Cool.
Oh, she's out there. She's very much a wilderness. She is a Norwegian who loves the land.
Yeah.
Every chance she gets, she's out there. She'll go out camping with the kids. She's like a little mountain goat. If we go out for a walk and if she really wants to push it, she just runs me into the ground. I cannot keep up with her. She's just so quick with walking. She's a tiny little thing.
Yeah. But she has a background as well, right?
Yes.
Which is the roots is ingrained in nature, I guess.
She's like she has this savage side to her that makes me very glad that she's on my side. but then she has this underside of it's almost like a classic hippie kind of kindness and openness. She's the most dynamic person I've ever met in my life. Such a savage, but such a sweet thing at the same time. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah. But
so that's why you didn't meet her coming here today. She's been out walking and exploring the wilderness out there.
That's so cool. Yeah. It's such a cultural ingrained thing to use the nature in Norway. I think
she's a very cultural, if I can put that in air quotes, very cultural Norwegian. She's very much about the land and natural resources and things like that. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we should be most proud of as Norwegians, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The way we use nature, not abuse, is huge.
It's a beautiful country. I've seen so much of Norway. You know, having our home up on Sæland, up in Finnmark.
Yeah.
And we drive when we go up there, and just driving through Norway and experiencing Norway and the small little villages and the way people live. And people do live quite differently when you get out into the districts. So for me, it's so appealing. It's my heart is up at our place in Finnmark on Sæland. I enjoy living here in Drammen, but I would much rather be up there. That's where my heart is. Yeah.
I understand that. It's just,
we're going to get up there this summer, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Unless I get another operation. Well, I'm going to get another operation, so the timing of it will decide whether or not I'm able to get up there. I sat here 2 summers ago, newly operated in my shoulder, and I sat here alone for they were gone for like 2 months, 2.5 months.
Wow.
Up at our place up on Sæland. I sat here and was getting home delivery of my groceries from Mini, the home delivery, and healing up. So that's been the story of my life for the last couple of years. This shoulder has really twisted up my life. Yeah. But it's a process.
Actually, you can't live with a banged up shoulder because it affects your everyday health so much.
People don't really get that. You know what I've noticed is balance. My balance is off. Yeah. Think about it when you walk. You have a natural swing to your arms, and I can't do that. There's nothing natural about this arm, about this shoulder. You see, as we sit here, I have to. I almost should have a sling all the time, so that when I'm sitting, if I have the opportunity to support I'm supporting my arm on a chair. For those who aren't here, supporting my arm on a chair, because the weight of my arm hanging down pulls on that cuff and pulls on that tendon transfer, and it's just. It's hell.
It's hell. And it's the joint of our body that creates the biggest amount of pain. Back injuries.
Because it's such a complex joint, and there's so much movement involved. So, of course, when it's messed up, there's so many different ways it can hurt. Yeah.
And it affects your neck in a huge way when it comes to nerve activation. And it shoves you down. It's so, and after the surgery as well, I think you can agree on this. The pain is, it's there.
The pain is an issue, but I tell you, the idea of being on those opiate painkillers scares the living daylights out of me. So after this last operation, which was the worst operation I've ever had for my shoulder, the most complex, the most painful, I was actually on painkillers for the shortest amount of time. I think I was 4 days.
Yeah. Opiate?
4 days on OxyContin or Oxy 4 days, and that's it. And they wanted me to be on it for up to 2 months. Yeah.
Then
I can't do that.
Then you have to go down. It's like
I was thinking I need to be able to function. That medicine knocks me out. All I want to do is sleep. I can't think straight. And I couldn't imagine being on it for 2 months and then worrying about coming off of it.
Yeah. Just look at what Oxy has done to America, some states.
Well, exactly. It killed my son. Yeah. I don't want to say Oxy killed my son, but heroin was his main thing. But at times he supplemented it with these easily available opiate painkillers.
Potato, right?
Yeah, So yes, it did. It killed my son. It's I get it. There's a use for that kind of medicine, but I can't remember the name of the company, but one of the main oxy producing companies in America just admitted
Johnson.
Was it Johnson? They admitted that they have negatively contributed to the health of America. In other words, that they have actually contributed to this widespread addiction problem. Yeah. And now they're going to pay out billions of dollars.
Yeah, they are.
And good. I'm glad that's happening.
And
because they are killing people.
And they were like, yeah, we'll take the bill.
Isn't that something?
Then you can imagine how much money they made of it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, because they would never admit a loss.
I can't remember the numbers, but I'm going to just go off.
I think it was 4 billion.
Yeah, and then I was thinking in West Virginia, I don't know the numbers, but I'm just going to be irresponsible and throw a number out there. But I want to say that they said that for every West Virginian citizen, there's like over 1,000 available oxy tablets. Isn't that disgusting?
It's
Why?
so
Why?
disgusting.
Why? Well, why? Money.
Yeah.
But to have a callousness for the health of the citizenry is absolutely amazing. To have such disregard for their well-being.
Win-loss. Right?
Yeah,
Win-loss.
it's
business.
It's pathetic.
It's ugly.
It killed my son. Well,
I'm so sorry
his
to
own
hear.
his own poor thank you. His own poor decisions killed him.
Yeah, well,
But you get to a point in addiction where your decision making capabilities are gone because you're in addiction, and then to make those medications so readily available when they are hurting so many people is just it's a shame.
yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I stopped drinking 4 years ago.
Good for you.
Yeah, and it was not on the same note as your son. I was not addicted to the substance itself, but I kind of became addicted to the feeling of, what it did. I was not shaking on a Monday. It was not like that. But I didn't take 2 beers.
I see.
I
I
took
see.
15. So,
And then how often was that? Was it just one day in the weekend? Or?
yeah, usually.
Okay.
But I found myself doing stuff I wasn't proud of. And my kind of hyperactive personality became even worse. Or, and it harmed. It didn't directly harm people, but people around me were
I see.
concerned. And
So how did you get the awareness of the fact that there was a problem?
I'm such a 0 or 100 guy, so I was like, I can't decide to. I'll just have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
It was cold turkey
I see.
or nothing.
Okay.
So and I'm so happy about it now.
Good for you.
And maybe for like a half a year, it was like, I wish I could take that glass of wine now when everyone else is. Or to Christmas dinner, it'd be nice with a beer. I'm just happy now. Just happy about it.
That's interesting. You kind of talk about. Well, are you alluding to that? There's pressure from others. When you're in,
that's strange that you mentioned that, because it's like, it's always kind of appropriate to ask someone why they're not drinking.
That's what I was getting at. Because
But it's never appropriate to ask someone why you're drinking.
Exactly.
Why?
And I don't drink. I had my first shot of something. I don't even know what it was. At my wedding with Snoopy. I had to get drunk to marry her, people. No, it was just one shot of something. I don't even know what it was. And then they gave me this shot. And then I went to, at the wedding, I performed. I had written a song. And I'm a decent musician, good singer and everything. But from that one shot into this body that had never had alcohol before, I was so messed up. We have it on film. We filmed it where I was sitting there trying to play this song and sing to my wife. But, and I was 33 years old.
Yeah.
First time I got, I never drank when I was a kid. Haven't drank anything since that day.
Yeah,
it's just never.
Yeah. But it's also a cultural thing in Norway. And back to
it's very much a cultural thing.
You get drunk.
It's very much a cultural thing. So, and then what I was getting at is, because I don't drink, I'm not the most sociable guy in the world, but I am out with friends from time to time. And to this day, I've been in Norway for 20 years. I've known some of these people for 20 years, and they still make an issue out of it that I'm not drinking when they are. Still.
I think
which is interesting.
It's part of the culture. Yeah.
I tell them, do you really want me drunk? As big as I am, strong as I am, as volatile as my personality is already, and do you really want me drunk?
Yeah.
Think about it.
And that's actually because I get kind of intimidating myself.
Okay.
Without being aggressive, I'm big, and if I'm like all over the place, that's
you are a big guy. I could see people being a little scared if you're getting kind of.
It's not good.
See, when I'm out entertaining, I'm the kind of guy, if I do a stand-up set or if I perform music at a club somewhere, I want to get off the stage and be out the door within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's usually exactly what I do. Because people, well, picture yourself, if you get some drinks in you and you get a little loud, you get a little physical and stuff. And then imagine someone who's not drinking, and then people like that are, oh man, what a great set you did. And they want to hug.
Yeah.
Women want to kiss you on the cheek, and it's just like, hey, come on, And so to avoid all of that, I get off the stage, I put the microphone down, and I'm gone within minutes.
Yeah, I understand you. I totally do.
But I think I'm missing something though. Not by not drinking, but I think I'm missing something in that social moment that I could have if I could handle if I could handle being around people who are drunk.
Yeah.
But I just can't handle it. I mean, if I'm able to be at a distance, in other words, I can go to, let's say one of my friends is going to be playing some music. I can go then and be in the audience with those people who are drinking. But see, then I'm not the focus.
No. Yeah. And that's the difference.
But if I've been on stage, now I'm the focus. And when I get off, I get it. People want to have that social moment with that person who's been on the stage. I get that. Yeah. But it's too much when people are that drunk as they can get at events like that. It's too much.
Yeah. I think I have no issue with being with drunk friends or whatever, drunk people. And I guess that's, again, you start drinking when you're 13, 14, and...
Yeah, but if it was just my friends, if I was just hanging out with my friends and they were drunk, that's different. That I can do.
Yeah.
But if I've been the focus, I've been on the microphone doing stand-up or music or something, now I'm the focus, and now strangers who are extremely drunk, who don't know any boundaries, that's too much for me.
Yeah, I do understand.
I fear that, I guess. That's the introvert side of me. I fear that situation, so I just leave.
Yeah.
I get off the mic and I'm gone.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Elvis has left the building.
Black Elvis.
Black John has left the building. Oh. I miss performing though. I haven't done any stand-up in a long time.
Why?
Because of COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah, of course.
I have asthma, so I'm in that risk group.
Yeah.
And Snoopy, because of the work she does, she's got to stay healthy. So I don't want to put myself in a situation where I get it and then pass it on to her.
Yeah, that's my big issue as well.
So
consider this. You saw the retirement home. What's it called? Up in Eidsvoll.
Yes.
23 residents got COVID, and 9 of them now has died. Yeah. So there's a person who brought that in and actually indirectly killed 9 people.
Yeah.
Think about being that person. I feel so sorry for her or him.
And along those lines, thank you for coming here and wearing the mask and accepting the social distancing and everything, because a lot of people have a problem with that. But thank you for doing that. But yeah, I don't want to be the person who brings it into the house. So I've stepped back. I haven't done stand-up since March of this year. That was the last time I did stand-up.
You get down about that? Do you really get depressed or?
Well, I'm struggling in general. My son's death is barely a year old.
Oh.
So it's been a rough year because of that.
Yeah. I
don't think, and I was using stand-up as medicine against that.
Yeah.
Actually put part of my stand-up routine has to do with my son's overdose. There's nothing funny about it, but I made it funny.
Yeah.
Some sort of therapeutic thing I was touching on. So I guess I'm missing out on that to a certain extent. I'm missing out on that therapeutic thing about being able to get on stage and forget about things or work through, not forget about it. It's the opposite, actually. I was getting on stage and actually working through my depression about my son being gone. So I'm missing something by not doing that through stand-up. But on the other side of it is I've had so much time to do writing, music, songwriting.
Yeah.
I got a real good gig writing for a very well-known Norwegian artist for an upcoming album that they have. I've been writing some new material for my own project. So there's a certain therapeutic thing in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not the most sociable guy. You know, I love doing this podcast and I love talking with people, but above and beyond that, I have really kind of closed myself in.
Yeah.
And just kind of stuck with Snoopy and our 2 kids. And that works for me.
Yeah.
For the moment.
Yeah.
You know, for the moment. It's a long moment. It's been almost a year. But, you know, in this COVID situation, I fully and easily accept being somewhat isolated. Because I think it's for the greater good.
Yeah. Our life is it's the same, you know. I have my daughters and my wife, and our life is at home.
It is, yeah.
Or out in the nature, right? Yeah. So it's not that different from.
I get so much satisfaction of that social thing just being with my wife and our 2 kids. You know, we make a big deal about mealtime. We always sit down and eat dinner together. Yeah. And if we're not getting on the kids about their homework and stuff like that, it's a good conversation. I actually do. Even though I'm not doing stand-up, I'm writing new stand-up material, and a lot of it I test out on my wife and kids at the dinner table. So it's this social bonding. I feel so much closer to Snoopy and the babies now, since Corona has been in our lives, than I did before. So there's a blessing in that.
Actually, yeah.
There's something positive in that.
Always.
Yeah.
Out of everything.
There's always something positive.
Like your son's death. Like you described now so perfectly. Yeah, anything can turn into a positive if you choose. The
positive thing with my son's death is that I speak openly about it on this podcast, on a lot of episodes, and people are telling me, wow, you know, I went through something similar, John. Thank you for showing me that I can talk about it. Yeah. So, yeah, what can I say? There's something positive in my son's death. Yeah. It doesn't hurt me to say that.
No.
You know, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And something in his death has opened me up and pushed me to be in an even more solid position to be able to share something from that experience with others so that they can have a little bit better life or make it through their trauma a little bit easier. Yeah. So again, there are many positive things in my son's death. Of course, it breaks my heart that he's gone. It was a horrible and stupid thing to have to experience. I wish he didn't make some of the choices he made. I wish some of the people around him wouldn't have made some of the choices they made that contributed to this. But it happened, and as you say, I choose positive. Yeah. I'm quite depressed. I'm not going to lie. I'm very depressed from that. But I'm my eyes are open to the positive. Yeah. And I choose to highlight that. Yeah. Yeah.
I've also experienced that you can be positive in depression.
Yes, absolutely.
It's actually possible, and you can really be at a dark place and really feel down and feel all negative come. Yeah. But you within that you can recognize growth. Yes. You can recognize your personality taking in new input and.
Yeah, and I try not to be selfish in my depression. I'm trying to share it with others in the hopes that it might help somebody else. Yeah. I don't want to be that selfish depressive who just sits in a dark corner and doesn't talk. I do the opposite. I'm speaking on a podcast where potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people can hear this. Yeah. And that's a very conscious thing that I'm doing. It's not by accident that I'm doing it. I want people to hear me talk about these things. Yeah. It might help them. It might.
Yeah. And back to choices.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Back to choices.
If you consider it, always a choice.
Always. Yeah. There's no such thing as fate.
No. That's true.
There's a lot of possibilities out there, but the choices we make will guide us towards these different results.
True. And then we call it fate.
Then we call it fate. Yeah.
That's so true.
Hey, man, you know, I was begging you for an hour, and here we've spoken for an hour and 2 hours and 19 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I want to thank you for your time, man. And it was good to have you here. This is, like I said, this is the first time in a long time that I've had a podcast guest here at the house. Most of them are by telephone these days.
Yeah.
but I'm glad you could come.
Great to be here.
So what's the next thing in line for you? Any big projects? Any big challenges out there for you?
The biggest one now is a client in 45 minutes.
Where do you have to drive? Are you going to make it?
Yep, 39. But that's good. And no,
I talk too much. I talk too much.
No.
If you're late, blame it on me.
I loved it. And then it's all about taking care of our clients.
Yeah.
Keeping them assured that when they come back, we will be there. And it's all about caring now.
Yeah.
And we'll keep on doing that, even though we can't monetize on that. We will monetize on the other side of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
There you go. Øystein Jensen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Daniel Eriksen for putting us together. This wouldn't have happened without Daniel Eriksen's suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Dan boy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
All right, my friend. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you and goodbye.